Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. We are live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard on a Tuesday. Busy 3-hour banger lined up for you today. We have a lot of guests on the program, and we also have had a ton of news. It's like somebody turned on the faucet today in the NFL and said, let's keep this bad boy going until the water runs out. And it won't stop. And the biggest, of course, Paulie, within the last 90 minutes or so. You know, I plan on coming in today and saying, people are going to say Tomlin has to go. I'm not going to be one of those guys. I don't think it was his problem. I think it was just the organization not getting the right personnel. And I think the offensive coordinator, again, the guy that they hired in Arthur Smith was terrible, and the lack of quarterback play. Although Rodgers was game for the regular season, not good enough to actually compete with these other teams. He wiped out anything that you could really say because he just decided to step down today. And now everybody's chiming in. It was about time.
Yeah. Also, too many people knew this story that he had a TV deal lined up, ready to go as well. Too many people were reporting that yesterday like they knew the outcome. And then after the game, he's asked about it. I haven't thought about my future. Okay.
So
and then he calls it quits today after 19 years.
So when it turned into a blowout last night, and Buck and Aikman actually brought that up on the podcast or on the broadcast.
Yeah.
And that is he can basically name his landing spot, and there is a job waiting for him or multiple jobs waiting for him if he wants to step down. That I was like, why would they bring that up? They absolutely know something about that. And then people in the know were saying that Fox would be the leader to get him. And you can find, by the way, a bunch of different markets to bet right now on Mike Tomlin, on prediction markets. I don't think I want to take a swing on him. He's not going to take another gig, is he? Why would he leave the comfort of being the Pittsburgh head coach? He's not going to get fired, right?
How about Zach Taylor, last man standing in the North?
Nobody had that.
How about that? That's
Nobody
ridiculous.
Had that. Yeah.
Shows you how inept the Bengals are. So the national media loves the guy, and we'll talk about what an incredible run and never had a losing season.
Sure.
But most Steeler fans are saying about time because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. He leaves now, tied with the longest playoff losing streak. How about the 1-11 record when trailing at halftime? That's something. And you go out with the losing streak. You go out in a bad performance like that. And an 8-12 playoff record, the last win in 2016. How about outscored 131-58 in your last 3 wild card games, too?
Yeah. I'm not going to bash the guy. I'm not.
It's a polarizing coach, though.
Oh, I know. I understand that. I would also say this. Look,
he started off so hot, and then come on. For that organization to go this long without a playoff win is unacceptable.
Yeah, that's not great, obviously. But I will remind people that, I don't know, for the last 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it's been now, in the summertime, as we're getting ready for the football season to begin, you hear nonstop about, the Steelers are not going to, come on, they're not winning 9 games, they're not winning 10 games, they're not a playoff team, division's too good, they don't have a good enough team, this whole thing, the narrative of Tomlin's never had a losing season, it's going to end this year, and it never does, and it hasn't. And if, just again, watching this team play again last night, it solidified it to me, and it has for a long time. It's how did he keep winning games to get to 10 wins on a season, to be a playoff team, to be a division winner? They're not that good.
Well, shame on the Baltimore Ravens, too.
Of course.
They couldn't stop Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, and they're not that talented. And yet, somehow, some way, he would extract that many wins every single year from them. So maybe deep down in his heart of hearts, he knew that we are completely stuck in neutral. We're always going to be picking in the 20s in the draft. So that's probably going to be make it difficult for us to land the guy that can become our next Ben Roethlisberger, because it hasn't happened since he retired.
Couldn't find a quarterback. That's
could not
fair.
find a quarterback at all.
Horrible losses, though. Nobody lost more games to bad teams than this guy, too.
And I'm just wondering, maybe the best thing for the organization in his brain was, if I step down, they're going to bring in somebody and it's not going to stay afloat, and eventually they're going to be able to pick higher in the draft and land their next quarterback, and eventually they're going to have to go through a couple of years where it's not fun and they're going to win 4 or 5 games, but then they'll pick right back up and they'll probably take off and be a 10-win team for a long time after that.
Cignetti's from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's 64.
Yeah, they'll probably go young. That is interesting, though.
That was a good tweet earlier today. They hired Noel when he was 37. They hired Cowher when he was 34. And they hired Tomlin when he was 34.
That's nuts. They're looking for their 4th coach since 1969 now.
Think about that.
That's nuts. I know.
Mm-hmm.
It's also from Bill Barnwell. Lost to the Jags in 2017, the Browns in 2020, the Chiefs in 2021, the Bills in 23, the Ravens in 24 in the game last night. They trailed on every single snap in the second half of every one of those games. Interesting and a complicated legacy. I'll say that.
What about the angle of Tomlin and Harbaugh switching?
Oh, God.
Tomlin goes to Baltimore, Harbaugh goes to Pittsburgh. Would that add anything to the rivalry? So this was live today. Steve Biscotti, owner of the Baltimore Ravens, was talking to the media when the news broke, and here was his reaction.
He did? Is it official?
That's what I keep hearing. So, is he a candidate here?
Holy Mike, wouldn't that be awesome? Only if John takes the Pittsburgh job.
Now we're talking. Come on.
That's great. That is great.
How fun would that be?
The room loved it. That's excellent. Well, I'm glad he came out with a decision right away.
Yeah.
Who knows what Rodgers, who knows how long he'll milk this.
Well, what do you think?
That's the other one. That's got to be it. I mean, he just can't move. And I know they had some, I liked them yesterday. They had some strong performances down the stretch offensively. And they were great in the 2 Baltimore games.
Yeah.
But you get Metcalf back. He has a couple drops. But you just see, like the Cleveland game, as you pointed out, in this ferocious pass rush, he can't move. And they couldn't connect on anything deep, and then the big turnover. So as bad as he played, and they were 2 of 14 on third down, Stroud was worse. And that's a 10-6 game with 11 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I thought for sure this was a Pittsburgh special, and they were going to steal that
looked
game
like it.
because
Right.
of Stroud. Hang around, another stupid mistake, the interception. Guy has 5 fumbles. Come on. 5 fumbles for a quarterback. And still they're in position to win the game until the defensive touchdown.
Like, can Stroud play worse, or could he have a game that's that bad again? Or is that absolutely rock bottom for him? That was an abomination last night out of him.
I was calling for Davis Mills, although his wife just had a baby, so he was probably up against it as far as prep. But he was that bad. This is your 3rd year in the league. You cannot throw an interception there inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
And then the 2 fumbles on the same play. And then, it's just like I was doing when they played the Chargers. They're gashing them on the ground, and they get away from the run.
Yep.
Just feed marks.
I mean,
all this talk, the O-line this, the O-line's fine. You have found, and like Aikman pointed out, I don't think anyone expected this, how they gashed them on. They have found a running game, but they refuse to embrace it.
They looked really good last night running the football. I felt like super good for Nick Chubb last night because he was a factor.
Yes.
And that dude has been through so much and so many bad injuries, and he was an absolute truck as a running back, and I want good things to happen to people like him. And to see him have moments last night when they had to have it, but also when they got away from it, when it was still a tight game, you had to be throwing things at the house. Like, what are we doing here, guys?
Should be
Come
a blowout.
on.
I know. Should be a blowout.
Stroud's been terrible the whole game. You don't want.
Oh.
How did he miss Collins on the touchdown?
Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, my God. He's open by 10 yards.
It's like we got a couple tweets, and Ian was one of them, about the more you see of this guy, the worse it gets.
Oh, no doubt.
About what's the future with this guy. He comes and he lights the league on fire.
Mm-hmm.
They win a playoff game. He's throwing for 350 every week. And now it's just off a cliff. And they won a playoff game last year, but that's when Herbert imploded. And then just some of them, he was bad against the Chargers. And this is in a playoff game, he's killing them. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Some of these, it's just silly mistakes. Those are rookie mistakes he's making out there. And to miss Collins, and thank God they had Kirk. So even though they're going to have bad news here on Collins, I still think they have enough to go to the Super Bowl because the defense is that good and the weapons are there in the rushing attack. Because Kirk's good. They have Schultz. They got Higgins. They have Noel. That should be enough. But this guy can't keep turning the ball over.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Also, like when it comes to Rodgers, like he played well enough for the entire year, start to finish, to come back and give it a go one more time. I would say in the right situation. I don't know if Pittsburgh's the right situation. They're going to have a new coach. Who the hell knows how that's going to go? But also, like, what would be the right situation for him to go to?
What an interesting tweet was our friend Brian Mahoney, who covers the NBA, pointing out you didn't see a lot of pat on the backs and go get him next time after the pick 6. It's kind of like they have moved on as well because he's a prickly pear.
And I think I brought that up. It was the day after a primetime game. Was it the Packer game or was it another game this year where the next day on the show, I'm like, did you notice how he got killed and turned the ball over and went the other way?
The Bills game.
And
I'm like, bloody and
nobody was...
Helped them up. And
nobody
all that.
wanted... Yep, not a single player did.
I know.
I think Atlanta would be intriguing to me. They move on from Cousins. They don't know what to do with Penix. Atlanta goes there. He goes there and plays in a dome. because they have weapons, man. I know, I'm just spitballing here.
Well,
for the guy.
I just think that should have worked last. I just thought they should have looked at a better performance.
I also-
mean, where were the dump offs to Gainwell? Where was the quick stuff? I guess guys couldn't get open. Metcalf let him down with the big drop, but Metcalf, what is it with these guys who demand the ball, then they have a drop and disappear?
Happens all the time.
Yeah, so he had a bad performance and only 2 catches, but, the Detroit game, you can say bad defense, okay, fine. They moved it against Detroit. They moved it twice against Baltimore, and they had a good showing in the other game. Cleveland was the outlier, although you could say their coach tried to avoid getting Garrett the record, but that was an abomination last night.
And as for the Texans moving on, we'll dive into that game a little bit more when we get into the divisional numbers. They're taking on New England, obviously, next weekend. And the Patriots taking a little bit of money here in the market. And I said this last night. We taped the latest episode of Pod to the Futures. JBT and I, it's available now wherever you listen to your podcasts. I brought up that when you look at every single unit remaining out of the 8 teams in the playoffs, I actually think when any unit brings their absolute A game, A-plus game, I think the Texas defense is probably the best unit remaining. It's close. It's them, the Rams offense, maybe the Broncos defense.
There's a but, though. Benjamin Solak wrote about this on ESPN.com. Seattle, great defense. The but. Couple bad performances the Rams game, Houston against the Raiders, Arizona.
I know, but
the
I mean,
Colts game.
for the most part.
But when they're locked in, there's good luck with that pass rush. Those guys are just behemoths. Throw you out of the way.
No kidding. We'll continue. A lot more news to get into. Paulie got his wish as this OC got whacked earlier today, and he wasn't the only one. Follow the money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We'll expand on some of these job openings now for head coach in the National Football League. And by the way, if you're just tuning in right now, earlier this morning, Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, said that I've had enough. I'm done. He's stepping down. Not fired. Stepped down after 19 years as the head coach of the Steelers. And right now we go out to the Progressive Guest Line. Mark Malusis joins the program. He has hosted plenty of shows here on VSiN, WFAN, and SNY in New York. Mark, pleasure talking to you. How are you today?
Mitch, Paulie, what's going on, guys? I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing really well. This is absolutely chaotic with all the news. We'll ask you about Mike Tomlin here in a minute, but you were hosting with Paulie. I was out one day around Christmas, and you brought up the idea and put the audience on high alert. You might want to pay attention to John Harbaugh to the Giants. Now, keep in mind, again, with the timeline, he was not fired. Still had the job, had a chance to win the division, make the playoffs, obviously. He was around 16-1, if you could find it. Now on prediction markets, he's between like 54 and 60% today. Why were you so strong about it a couple of weeks back?
Because just when Harbaugh started getting hit, first and foremost, the Giants, I think, were looking for an established head coach after going down the coordinator route and failure with McAdoo, failure with Pat Shurmur, failure with Brian Daboll. You go up and down the line. Joe Judge, who was on the Ole Miss sidelines. I think the Giants, given the fact that, they've kind of been in the abyss here for a while, and it's a talented team, I think if you take a poll in that building, I think they probably think the coaching staff failed more than anything else. Blue games left and right. I think they were looking for an established coach, and the only guy sitting out there was McCarthy. And I don't think I'd necessarily look at McCarthy as being that culture changer, kind of, 2 feet on the ground, eyes straight ahead, hold guys accountable. They needed somebody to step into that room. And I really thought that when Harbaugh started getting asked questions down in Baltimore after 18 years about his coaching future, and, when that Raven season looked like it wasn't going to be meaningful at the end, it ended up being meaningful, but you got a sense that probably that, there was a sign or a hint to change. And I think he's the perfect candidate. I mean, sometimes it's got to be right place, right time. And I thought if he ever shook free, that he would be the apple of the eye of the New York Giants. And and they've gone all in. Now it's up to him to decide exactly where he wants to coach. I do think the Giants are an appealing job based on the fact that they do have a young quarterback in Jackson Dart. I think most people believe has got a real amount of ability to him, and they've got some good pieces in together as well on that roster. When you're looking at edge rushers, there's a great left tackle in Andrew Thomas. If Malik Neighbors comes back from that torn ACL, an elite level wide receiver, Cam Scatterbo, very good running back room, offensive line got figured out. It's an NFC East that's kind of in a state of flux. When you look at it, Philadelphia, Washington coming off a down year, you look at the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones all gets in the way. I think if you're looking at John Harbaugh, wants to stay in the Northeast potentially. That's why I think it's a perfect match. I think the coach, the coaching style, and where the Giants are as an organization, that's why they're all in.
All right, good answer. I love all the talent on offense. Could he reach Carter? And is there enough talent defensively that they can turn this around as the defense was so bad and Bowen got fired?
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, I think, Paulie, when you look at when they got rid of Shane Bowen, look at the defensive metrics and the stats for the Giants. They were significantly better against the run. Abdul Carter flashed the last 3 games of the season. Now you might say, listen, the Giants weren't playing for anything. Listen, Abdul Carter is only 21, 22. There's no doubt that he's got a world of ability. He's got to grow up. I mean, the nonsense has got to stop, right? And that's really a case where you look at a guy that's going to step into the room, that's going to be that culture changer, is hold guys accountable. It's win. And that's what you're judged by in the National Football League, by the scoreboard each and every week. And I think John Harbaugh kind of epitomizes that. Had a lot of success down in Baltimore. Should he have won more? Yeah, no doubt about it. But he's not Loop. He didn't miss the kick. He's not Andrews. He didn't drop the ball up in Buffalo. He's not Zay Flowers. He didn't fumble the ball against the Kansas City Chiefs. So you can only do so much, right? So you look at, defensively, I think there are pieces in place to be excited about. Abdul Carter, obviously, I think you just saw the tip of the iceberg in terms of his talent at the end of the season. If you're able to get to him and teach him how to be a pro, I think he's got an unbelievable amount of ability.
From a betting standpoint, as of right now, betting odds on is not exactly like having 16-1 in pocket, but now you might have a little bit more information, as you're saying here. Do you think that he would be worth a bet to land the Giants gig, or no, it's like that time was a couple of weeks back?
I don't think the value's there, Mitch, right now, to be honest with you. I think kind of you had to kind of take a shot that he was going to shake free down in Baltimore. And then when he shook free, I think he became kind of the apple of the Giants' eye. And I think he's just as interested in the Giants' job as the Giants are interested in him. Maybe not to the level that the Giants are in him, because I think he's got options, whether it be Cam Ward in Tennessee. Obviously, he had a meeting with the Atlanta Falcons, and there's a draw to the Cleveland Browns because, that's where obviously family connections out there to the Ohio area. But still, I think when all thing is said, if you're looking to try and win, he's 63 years old, right? He doesn't want to go out there and kind of ride it out. He wants to try and win. He's a competitive guy. I think when you look at the pieces of the New York Giants, I think you look at a team that's got a number of good pieces together in place, needs to add, and they need to be taught how to win. And I think the Giants right now are all in financially. I think they'll give him the financial wherewithal to bring in the assistants and the coordinators that he's looking to try and do and really change that organization, that franchise around and get the Giants back to where they should be.
9 openings. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cleveland open at the same time. What do you think the Steelers are going to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. I mean, there's been rumors about Marcus Freeman, that even though he re-signed the contract extension with Notre Dame, that the job that he would be interested in would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's been those rumblings around on the internet. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but Pittsburgh, it's, you think about it. In my lifetime, I've seen, Noel Cowher and Tomlin. I mean, that's been it. I mean, you think about that when you look at Mike Tomlin stepping down as Steelers head coach. And I don't know necessarily if he's going to go into the broadcast booth or if he's going to search for another job. But if you're in Pittsburgh right now, I think it's a time to find somebody young, dynamic, and you're going to have to go into a rebuild. Listen, it might be the last day of Rodgers as an NFL quarterback. Maybe he seeks other options. Watt is getting up there in age. Certainly Hayward is. It's an older team. They went all in on this season. And unfortunately, it came to a thud of an end on Monday night against the Houston Texans. But that's probably where I was going to go. They do have a history of finding good ones, though, when you look at it from the Pittsburgh Steelers perspective.
Yeah, offshore right now. These were just posted. Brian Flores, 3-1, next Steelers head coach, and Marcus Freeman plus 350. That would make sense, right? Freeman would fit that bill of Again, you go back and look at the last 3 guys they hired. Noel was 37, Cowher 34, Tomlin 34. Like, he could be a guy that could go there for 15 years, I think.
Oh, there's no question. And now more than ever, when you look at college football, it's more like professional football than anything else, dealing with NIL deals and the amount of money that's being played. And listen, Notre Dame's a great job. There's no doubt about it. But when you're thinking about great jobs in the National Football League, there are a few that are kind of above everybody else, all right? And the Steelers being one of them, the Dallas Cowboys being one of them. You step in and you're the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. That has a little bit of an extra kick to it than other NFL jobs, even though all of them are obviously rare and great finds if you're an assistant or if you're in the college ranks.
Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Mark Malusis. You can follow him on X at his name, at Mark Malusis. He's with WFAN and SNY. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. We were talking about some of these games now that they're established with the schedule for the divisional round. Do you have a best bet here early on a Tuesday for the upcoming weekend?
Yeah, I like Houston. I mean, I do. I mean, defense travels, and that defense is as good of a unit as there is that's left on the board, AFC or NFC. It really is. And you saw that against the old Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. And, you saw that New England Patriot offense get shut down by the Los Angeles Chargers. Unfortunately for the Chargers, Justin Herbert and that offense didn't do anything, and it cost their OC his job earlier today. Now the question is, and Mitch, you hit upon it right in the segment right before I hopped on with you guys, is can CJ Stroud get out of the way? Yeah. I mean, that's basically it, right? Don't implode. Don't turn the ball over 2-3 times like he did against Pittsburgh. See, if you do that against New England, the Texans are going to lose. You did it against the Steelers, and they were able to survive and marched on and did it stylishly 30-6. I think he does a better job taking care of the football. I think that Texans defense I think it could take them all the way to the Super Bowl. I think they are, and I'm not the only one. A lot of people are on Houston coming into these AFC playoffs, and I think they're live at +3 going into Foxborough this weekend in the divisional round. I think they're going to win the game outright.
Hey, Mark, great perspective. Pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for the time today. We appreciate that.
Mitch, Paulie, love you guys. You guys do an unbelievable job. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Moose.
There you go. Mark Malusis, the Moose, on the Progressive Guest Line, WFAN and SNY in New York.
Kingsbury's 30-1. And maybe Kyler Murray winds up in Pittsburgh. Who knows? Cignetti is not listed at this one site. But Bill Cowher is.
Sure.
And John Gruden.
Well, remember, Joe Gibbs came back to take the, at the time, Redskins job yet again. There was an offshore book back then that then posted the next Redskins coach. Gibbs was 10,000-1.
Is that right?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. And he took the gig one more time. So, but I liked his answer there. If you have 16-1 in pocket right now, when he talked about it, good bet. Don't force it right now.
Yeah, most places didn't even have him on the list.
Yep.
When he asked, but the one place had 16-1 up on him. That was a good call.
Win some, lose some is coming up next. Christian Kirk led wildcard weekend in receiving yards. You will not believe the number that was out there. Paulie with the details coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Little natty title game, transfer portal, here with professional sports bettor Paul Stone. Been kind enough to join us as always every single Tuesday at this time. He is on the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow him on X at Paul Stone Sports. Now, this is kind of no man's land other than like teasers. People say don't tease college football games, but if you wanted to get involved, Indiana down to 2.5. How about this? The South Point has moved to 9 here on the game, Paul. Overall, your thoughts on where the point spread is sitting right now with Indiana that big of a favorite against Miami next Monday night?
Well, thanks for having me, guys. After Indiana had just basically dismantled Alabama 38-3 in that quarterfinal victory, Kirk Cignetti in that post-game interview, on-field interview, famously said it'd make a hell of a movie. And it would. And I think to a degree, using that same analogy, I think Miami kind of feels like an extra in Indiana's movie. I mean, Indiana is such a compelling story. It's such a great story. One of the greatest college football turnarounds in my lifetime, without question. But Indiana, they feel like an afterthought, I think, in many ways. This was a team, obviously, that many felt didn't belong in the 12-team playoff, talking about Miami. They lost conference games in a watered-down ACC, lost at home to Louisville. Then they lose at SMU in overtime on November 1st. And they had to win their last, several regular season games even to be considered. They get in the field. They've taken advantage of it. But just to look at this Miami team, this is, first of all, not a Miami team obviously void of talent. This is a very talented team. I saw one story today that projects them to have 8 NFL draft choices in the upcoming April NFL draft. A few odds and ends here, according to, relating to point spreads and so forth. They faced 7 teams this season ranked in the AP top 25 at the time of their game. They not only defeated all 7 of those teams, they covered against all 7 of those teams. And 5 of those 7 teams were not only in the top 25, but 5 of them were in the top 10. Single-digit games, whether Miami was the favorite or the underdog. In single-digit games, point spread-wise, Miami 7-0 this year against the spread. Also, the Hurricanes, they've been underdogs 3 times this year. Of course, the season opener at home against Notre Dame, and then playoff games against both Texas A&M and Ohio State. They not only covered all games, but obviously won all 3 of those games. Indiana, a great football team. They have steamrolled the majority of their opponents, but they are beatable. They needed a last-minute touchdown at Iowa to defeat the Hawkeyes, who were unranked at the time earlier this year, and they also needed a touchdown in the final seconds to beat Penn State at Penn State, a Penn State team that was in the midst of a 6-game losing streak and playing with their backup quarterback. So they can be defeated. And this Miami team does have talent. You look at the look-ahead line before this matchup, before the semifinal matchups, rather, Indiana was -5.5. Following the semifinal results, Indiana reopens at -7.5. And as you mentioned, bet up to 9 at some books as of today. I think there's a lot of interest in Indiana, obviously. I think Miami's got a shot. I recommend taking a full unit and splitting it. 60% on Miami plus the points, either 8.5 or 9, and then the other 40% on the money line. You can find plus 290 at both Westgate and the Circa where you guys are. So split a unit on Miami. I think the U is going to make a case and maybe get the victory.
Making good points, and I love both teams here, but I think we're getting carried away in the last week where people are saying this team could be better than the Joe Burrow LSU team. I mean, the hype train is really getting out of control here. Do you think it's a correlated parlay? That if you like Miami, put it with the under? Because they're going to have to slow it down. And I was talking to a lot of people while the Ole Miss game was going on. And Carson Beck played well. I would have run the ball every play. How they were blowing him off the line of scrimmage and how dangerous Fletcher is. And they were getting 5 yards a carry. Do you think they shorten the game and chew clock?
I think that's certainly an approach you could take. I would only bet the under, and I think it's to Miami's advantage to try to run the football with Fletcher, keep Beck out of harm's way. Beck has certainly been, shown the propensity for the turnover at times, although he's protected the football well in the playoffs. So shortening the game and trying to win it with the running game and keeping Fernando Mendoza off the field is certainly a good approach to the game from Miami's perspective.
So I haven't noticed yet. We're talking to Paul Stone here on the Progressive Guest Line, professional sports bettor on X at Paul Stone Sports. I also haven't done like a deep dive on searching across the globe here for national title numbers for next year. Maybe there's a book or two that has it up right now. But what have you noticed, teams that you've maybe circled to keep an eye on here for the audience next year once those odds do drop based on how they have performed so far in the transfer portal?
I'll say, first of all, as far as I really hadn't checked odds, I'm just trying to keep up with all these guys committing to the teams right now. I've got my notebook is in perfect order right now. But Indiana, I think they're going to be the preseason number 1, regardless of what happens Monday night against Miami. This is a team that, despite being in the middle of a playoff run, they have fared well in the portal. I mean, obviously, their first order of business was finding a replacement for Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Fernando Mendoza. They went to Fort Worth, Texas to get that job accomplished. TCU transferred Josh Hoover. He's a guy who's played a lot of big-time football, started 31 games in his career. NFL scouts have been salivating over Hoover for several years. So I think Indiana will be one of the preseason number 1 rather. And then another team, last year, before this season rather, Texas was the preseason number 1 for the first time in school history and had the Heisman Trophy favorite in Arch Manning. Obviously, neither one of those things worked out in the Longhorns' favor, but I'll say this, and this is no surprise, and these markets are already up, but Arch Manning, he will again be the Heisman Trophy betting favorite in 2026. I don't think Texas is going to be the number 1 preseason team, as I indicated by my choice of Indiana, but Texas is going to be in the top 3 or 4. They've done fantastic in the portal. They have added wide receiver Cam Coleman from Auburn, a former 5-star running backs, Rayleigh Brown from Arizona State, Hollywood Smothers from North Carolina State. They have fortified their defense with Pitt linebacker Rasheem Biles, 2-time All-AC selection with over 30 tackles for loss in his career. So they have done some big things there. LSU with a new coach, as you might expect, Lane Kiffin, they've done great things in the portal as well. They have found their quarterback in Sam Leavitt. Texas Tech and Texas A&M also predictably have done well in the portal. And then you look at some teams kind of under the radar in the portal that won't be necessarily top 10 or top 15 preseason teams, but teams to keep an eye on that are turning their roster over and could see considerable improvement in 2026. I'll start with Kentucky and their first-year head coach, Will Stein. He's a guy who's a native of Louisville, so he's familiar with the lay of the land there in Kentucky. Most recently, he has served as Oregon offensive coordinator. He has 26 portal commitments so far, so he has a lot of numbers. Some media members are ranking this as a top 10 portal class at the present. He's brought in a couple of Longhorns, running back C.J. Baxter and linebacker Elijah Barnes. Has also added Tennessee left tackle Lance Hurd, who's a former 5-star recruit, Oklahoma running back Javante Barnes, and Notre Dame backup quarterback Kenny Minchey. And then finally, another team, Oklahoma State. And you're talking about a team whose fortunes really fell swiftly from year 2023 when they played in the Big 12 championship game against Texas to this most recently completed season, 2025, when they were 1-11 on the season, 0-9 in conference play, outscored 400 to 170, arguably, maybe inarguably, the worst team in the Power 4 structure. But they bring in Eric Morris from North Texas, and Eric Morris basically took a truck, a big truck, and hooked up the football office in North Texas to the truck on a trailer or whatever, put all the players in it, and drove it to Stillwater because he's got basically North Texas's roster there in Stillwater. A little bit of an overstatement, but he certainly has their best players, their best offensive players. Quarterback Drew Mestamaker threw for almost 4,400 yards this year. Caleb Hawkins, as a true freshman at North Texas this year, rushed for over 1,400 yards. He is a big-time back. And then also North Texas's top receiver, Wyatt Young, 70 catches, 1,264 yards, 10 touchdowns. I think Oklahoma State's going to be much improved. I think Kentucky as well will be much improved.
Very good. Great breakdown. Follow him on X again at Paul Stone Sports. And to go over it again quickly here, Miami plus 8.5, Miami around plus 290 on the money line, 60-40 split on those two bets, your best bets for the national title game. Pleasure talking to you all year long, Paul. Enjoy the game next Monday night and best of luck.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and you guys have a great week and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. He was on the progressive guest line. Maybe Oklahoma State or Kentucky could be a team like Texas Tech next year. That's what you got to try to find in the futures market.
I like Tech again.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be loaded.
Yeah, they may upgrade at a quarterback.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's going to be a team again that will open at like 200 to 1, higher than that. They say, well, we got a lot of money we can spend.
I think that kid can play in the NFL. Big.
From North Texas?
Yeah, Mestamaker.
He's good.
Yeah.
Up next, updated odds to win the Super Bowl MVP. I was stunned when reminded this has not occurred since the late 1990s. I'll tell you what it is next here on VSiN.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome aboard. We're live in downtown Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino is the spot. We'll get into tonight's basketball card coming up in about 15 minutes. Derek Stevens, owner, CEO of this great property, makes his weekly appearance coming up at the bottom of the hour. And perfect timing today with our next guest. Dan Leberfeld joins the program, Jets Confidential magazine. He is co-host of Press Coverage Saturdays from 10 until 2 Eastern on Sirius XM Radio. You can follow him on X at Jets Whispers. In Vegas for a couple of extra days. Decided to be really kind and drive down to Circa, get a ride down to Circa and say hello and pop on the show. Great to meet you.
Great to be on. Well, what pressure leading it to Derek Stevens?
Yeah, but he's the man of the people, though.
Okay.
A billionaire owner that anybody can relate to, which is very uncommon, you would think.
Especially in the NFL.
Yeah. So the reason why I said you're the first of all, you cover the entire league. You're a great guest anyway. But with the news today with Mike Tomlin, he announced that he's stepping away as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers for 19 years. And for like the last handful of years, you would hear it all the time down the stretch. Steelers fans are doing the fire Tomlin chants. Time to go. Time for a new voice. Let's move on here. As a guy who covers the Jets up close and you have done that for many, many years, don't you think they'd sign up for what he did in Pittsburgh like every single day of the week, and multiple other NFL franchises would do the same thing?
Absolutely. He is one of the gold standard coaches in the league. And to me, we were talking a little bit off the air, and I teased my theory on this, which you're not going to hear in the echo chamber, is that I blame the personnel department here. They made so many bad decisions. They wasted Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they made the playoffs, but in a bad division. They wasted Tomlin's last year. I'm going to go over a few of them. First of all, the secondary is terrible. They bring in Darius Slay, can't run anymore. Jalen Ramsey doesn't run well anymore. And you look at Joey Porter, he was never fast, even go back to Penn State. Slow secondary. And then you look at the fact that they paid two longtime veterans who threatened them in training camp in the summer, Cam Hayward and Watt. We want a new contract. No. You don't give older veterans new contracts because of sentimentality in a cap sport. Belichick was the best at that in New England. When he said, Richard Seymour, Richard, we love you, but see, we're not paying you at 29. Paid two veterans who are on the wrong side of the mountain a lot of money. And here's the worst part about it, the offensive line. I mean, we could say Broderick Jones got hurt. Broderick Jones wasn't good. I covered the Jets-Patriots game in week 1. He was a turnstile. So bad offensive line, bad secondary, and paying older vets. I blame Omar Khan and the personnel department more than I blame Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers. I think this is a poorly constructed team.
Very good.
I don't disagree.
Interesting. That is. How about the losing streak, though? They're not have a playoff win since 2016.
Well, I think that a lot of that has to do. I know Big Ben was there part of the time, but just trying to figure out that quarterback position.
Yeah,
Big Ben at the end wasn't the same. Getting rid of the ball too fast, and then Mason Rudolph and all these other guys. Whose plan was it to bring in the two guys last year, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields? What kind of plan is that? I know Mike Tomlin had a lot of power, and it wasn't like the GM was forcing everything on him, but, man, did they make some bad personnel decisions. I'm telling you, they wasted a season where that could have been a lot better. Because when you overpay veterans, when you get sentimental with guys on the D-line, you neglect the O-line and the secondary.
Yeah, what'd you make of the other news today? Patullo out, OC is Philadelphia. Also, same thing in L.A. with the Chargers. And Greg Roman's also gone.
What's amazing to me with Greg Roman is that the O-line coach was fired also. You fire the O-line coach with both franchise tackles out. To me, when you hear these stories this time of year of this coordinator being fired or this position coach, 9 times out of 10, it's the owner. It's like he needs some throw somebody under the bus, but the head coach and the GM have to sit out there and act like it was their idea. These are usually owner moves. Why would you fire the O-line coach? I know you asked me about the OC, but to me, these kind of moves have owners written all over them. They got to do something. They need a pound of flesh.
Okay, because that does make a lot of sense what you're saying there, because clearly when Slater goes down and then out not that many weeks after that, you're taking 2 of your best players on the entire team and 2 of the best tackles in the entire sport off the same team, and you expect it to just be okay? Like the O-line coach is going to be able to fix that on his own?
Yeah, and then the backup tackles got hurt. Salyer and the other guy, forgot his name, the right tackle got hurt. So they were down to the third-string tackles at some times during the year. As far as Patullo, you knew he was going to be sacrificed. But we had Sal Paolantonio on the show a couple weeks ago, who follows the Eagles closer than anyone, and he said this is not Kevin Patullo's fault. I mean, you see the stuff going on there. not Petulo's fault. There were people open all the time. The quarterback wasn't seeing him, but you knew he was gone. They're going to do what they did the last time. A couple years ago, they had a nondescript offensive coordinator, and then they replaced him with a rock star coordinator, Kellen Moore. This time, they did the same thing with Petulo. They're going to go out and get the best OC on the market, pay him big bucks like they did with on defense with Vic Fangio.
They will land somebody like Mike McDaniel, probably.
Yeah, then they'll spend whatever it takes.
Okay. Jets are picking second overall in the draft. When you look at the betting market for odds-on number one overall pick, the Raiders have that pick, obviously. Mendoza's like minus $12, right? So huge favorite. Dante Moore's the second choice. Assuming for a second Mendoza is the first pick overall, do the Jets by default go Moore?
Well, here's the issue, and you guys follow the college game closer than I do. Isn't a really high-profile transfer quarterback going into Oregon?
Yeah.
Right. So maybe Moore's going to be forced out. I mean, that's the deal in Alabama. Alabama's got a 5-star coming in. That's why Ty Simpson might transfer, get $5-6 million, and not, go into the draft. With Dante Moore, is he going to be forced out there because he'd get a lot of money in the portal, or will Phil Knight pay him as much as he'd get in the first round? But as far as Dante Moore, I don't know if that's a good market fit. I don't know if it's a guy who's ready to roll. Jets have so many needs.
Yes.
That their defense is the worst defense. I've covered the team 30 years. Is the worst defense I've ever seen.
How do you go a season without a pick?
It's unbelievable.
How can that happen?
The linebackers in secondary, terrible at reading their keys. The instincts are bad. The pass rush was bad. So to me, I'm not saying you pick this guy at 2. They might have to go quarterback if Moore is there at 2. Jacob Rodriguez of Texas Tech,
yeah.
They need a guy like that so bad. They got guys at linebacker with the green dot and all that, not calling the things right, not getting guys lined up. They need a quarterback on defense as much as they need a quarterback on offense. And Jacob Rodriguez is one of the most instinctive linebackers to come out of college since Luke Kuechly.
Okay, noted. I'm going to definitely write this down and pay attention to
But not at 2. No, I'm not crazy, Jacob.
Yeah.
Not at 2, but later.
But maybe you can find like who the Jets pick in the first round, second pick, whatever it's going to be, and that might be available as a market that you can bet into. Dan Leberfeld, our guest, you can follow him on X. He's at Jets Whispers and NFL Radio as well. Co-host press coverage Saturdays at 10 o'clock Eastern time. In New York, we had a guest on earlier who back around Christmas said if you can find John Harbaugh to the Giants, and he was available at about 16-1, he said, take a little bit of a flyer on that. And again, at the time, Ravens still had a chance to win the division, make the playoffs. He's no longer there. He's the betting favorite now to become the next head coach of the G-Men. Does that happen?
Well, the issue there would be, how much do you believe in Jackson Dart? How long is he going to last with his style of play? Now, you got to admire his toughness. He's tough as boot leather. He's doing all that stuff. But what was he in the tent 5 times this year? Like, how sustainable is that? And how good is he at processing? You know, these Ole Miss quarterbacks come out, and everything is dialed up perfectly for him with Lane Kiffin before and Charlie Weiss and the gang at Ole Miss. They're one read and run quarterbacks. So they come to the NFL, Matt Corral, right? And it doesn't work out because of the fact they have to process. I'm not sold on Jackson Dart. And if you're John Harbaugh and you got one more bite at the apple in terms of taking another head coaching job, do you believe in Jackson Dart to that degree that that's going to be the bite at the apple you take? I'm not 100% sure.
How about Atlanta? Easy division?
It's funny about Atlanta, to me, if they keep Cousins. The other guy, you know, he's basically had like 3 ACL repairs.
Yeah.
He's had both shoulders repaired. How long is he going to hold up? Penix. And to me, if I'm Harbaugh, I'd want to go there with Cousins for a year or 2. Maybe put Penix on ice. Is Penix a guy that if you're Harbaugh, like, I got to go coach Penix? He's good, not great.
I want to like him a lot, but I can't get there yet. Like, I loved him at Washington. The guy was dynamic and super accurate, threw a great ball, but at the NFL level, we just haven't seen it enough yet, right?
Right, and look how much money Kirk Cousins made Kyle Pitts. Look when Kirk Cousins went into that lineup, how Kyle Pitts exploded. After 3.5 years or so, people said, this guy's a bust. This guy. No, because he had Ritter, and Penix isn't Ritter, but he didn't have a veteran quarterback getting in the ball. All of a sudden, Kyle Pitts owes Kirk Cousins a big Christmas gift next year. He made that guy a lot of money in free agency because he knows how to see the field and get everyone involved. I'm not sure about Penix being that guy as far as a full field reader.
You mentioned it was the worst defense you've ever seen since you've covered the team. no interceptions, only forced 3 turnovers. How did Glenn survive this? He's a defensive guy.
I think he survives because his contract numbers never came out in the public. But since Ben Johnson got $13 million a year, I'm saying Aaron Glenn is in the $10 to $11 million a year. And I don't think they have the stomach to eat out 4 years, maybe $45 million. Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, is surrounded by lawyers and money men. And they didn't have very good attendance this year. It's not like the Raiders down the road here printing money with sold-out games and all these lawyers sponsoring them. Is there a city in the country that has more injury attorneys than Las Vegas? I can't believe all these billboards.
The billboards when you're driving around town?
Yeah. Enough said, call Ed, baby.
You got them all memorized. There you go.
Yeah.
We have like a minute left here. Do you have a best bet that you like in the divisional round?
A best bet. Let's see. I don't want to say best bet, but I like Buffalo. I just can't go with Bo Nix against Josh Allen. Bo Nix, have you seen the sparring between Sean Payton and that columnist Kisla? I don't know if you've had him on the show. The sparring and the press conferences. Kisla has basically been writing in one of the Denver papers that I'm not buying this. This is a house of cards. I mean, Sean's doing a great job, but that quarterback, how much would you trust that quarterback? So I can't go with Bo Nix against Josh Allen.
All right.
So I'm not gonna say lock, slam dunk, but I like Buffalo.
Great spot, Dan.
Good job.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for coming in today. We appreciate
Great to meet you guys. You guys do a great job. Great chemistry and great entertainment.
Appreciate that.